Besides being an Arizona estate planning attorney, I'm also an attorney who forms LLCs for people. We formed over 9,200 Arizona LLCs. And one of the issues that we find that is very important for business owners when there are multiple owners is they need to plan for what might happen if one of the owners were to die. Because we all know that it's inevitable, but what happens is people will form a business, they'll start operating, and then suddenly one of the people dies, and that can cause extreme problems for everybody concerned. Not problems just for the family of the deceased person, but problems for the other business owners. Because now it may be that the interest of the deceased person is inherited by somebody who the deceased person would not want to inherit. Arizona law provides that if a person dies without a will or a trust, then there's a state law that determines who inherits the assets of the deceased person. So we encourage our business clients to have an estate plan, but unfortunately, too many people like to procrastinate. So it's common for a business owner to die without a will or a trust. And that means that the interest in the company and the person's other assets are going to be going to the person that the Arizona law provides inherits the assets, which for a married person, the assets go to the spouse if all of the children are children of the man and wife. But if the children are from a different marriage, then half of the assets of the decedent go to the children of the other marriage, and the other half of the assets go to the spouse. Now, if a person dies and they don't have a wife, then all of their assets are inherited equally by their children. If they don't have children, then all of their assets are inherited by their parents equally. But if both parents are deceased, then the decedent's assets are inherited by the decedent's siblings. So it can be that if somebody has ownership interest in a business and they die, the wrong person ends up inheriting the interest of the decedent. Now, from the other business owner's perspective, it can be also a terrible thing because not only is their friend deceased, but it may be that the interest of the deceased person goes to somebody who is inconsistent or incompatible with the business owners. I mean, for example, what happens if the interest of the decedent is inherited by a brother who can't get along with the other business owners? Now the business owners have a partnership with somebody who they can't get along with, and that creates problems. The bottom line is that whenever you have a business, whether you own it individually and you're the only owner, or whether you're in a business where other people are also owners, it's in the best interest of your loved ones that you have an estate plan with a trust that provides who inherits your interest in the company if you die and who inherits your other assets. Because if you don't have a trust, if you don't have a plan for who inherits, then it can create extreme problems not only for the other business owners, but extreme problems for your loved ones. And so take the action that's necessary to protect your most important assets, your loved ones, and adopt an estate plan with a trust. When we form an LLC for people, we also give them information about estate planning, about wills and trusts and estate plans, because we want them to take action to protect their most important assets, their loved ones. And that means adopting an estate plan. So not only do we want them to adopt an LLC that gives them protection from the things that might go wrong with the business, but we also want them to hire us to prepare their wills, the trust, estate planning documents to protect their most important assets, their loved ones. As a business attorney who's formed over 9,200 Arizona LLCs, we encourage our multi-member LLC owners to sign a buy-sell agreement. This is an agreement signed by all the owners of the company that provides what happens if somebody dies, or what happens if they lose their mental capacity. And the purpose of the buy-sell agreement then is it can either require the interests of a deceased person to be purchased by the company, or it can give the company an option to purchase. Because when you have a buy-sell agreement, what you're doing is you're creating a plan that will cause the interest of a deceased owner to pass on the death of the deceased owner, either to the company or perhaps to another member of the company if the company elects not to purchase the interests of the deceased person. So at the end of the day, what happens is the interest of the deceased person is purchased by the company. The money is then paid to the heirs of the deceased person. And at the end of the day, the family is extricated, or the family is removed from the company. They have money that's paid to them for the purchase price of the interest, and then the company is free of having somebody own the interest of the deceased person who perhaps would not get along with the continuing owners. One of the things I've found over the years in being a business attorney is that not just do people not like to think about death and dying and planning for what might happen if they die, but they do the same thing with their business. If they're in a multi-owner business, typically, even though we encourage them to sign a buy-sell agreement, which is an agreement that provides that if an owner dies, the company buys the interest of the deceased person. But unfortunately, people also like to procrastinate on the buy-sell agreement. When we form a company, we encourage the multi-owner companies to do a buy-sell agreement, but I'd say more often than not, the people are not inclined to do a buy-sell agreement when they first form the company. But we give them follow-up emails that remind them of the importance of the buy-sell agreement, because especially as a company grows and becomes more valuable, that buy-sell agreement is more important. And so it's something that over time, hopefully the owners of a multi-member company will understand the importance of the buy-sell agreement, because it protects not just the estate of the deceased person, but it protects the company as well. One of the reasons that we encourage people to form an Arizona LLC is because they want to protect themselves from something that goes wrong with the business. If you operate a business or own real estate and rent that real estate out, if something goes wrong, you're going to be the defendant in that lawsuit, and your life savings is at risk. If you own a business or if you have real estate that you rent, you must form an LLC and have the LLC own the business or own the real estate. And the reason for that is because Arizona law provides that the owners of an Arizona LLC are not liable for the debts or obligations of the LLC. So if the gas water heater blows up in your rental property and somebody's killed or injured, the Arizona law says that you're not liable because you're not the owner of that property. The LLC is the owner, and so it can be sued and it can be liable for the damages that arise from that water heater blowing up. So in the worst case scenario, if your insurance doesn't cover all of the damages, then the LLC will lose the real estate and you lose that equity that you have in the real estate, but you're not going to be sued, and your life savings and other assets are going to be protected by having that LLC own the real estate or own and operate the business. Easy, simple. Bottom line is that whenever you operate a business or whenever you have investment real estate, you need to have it owned by an LLC or operated by an LLC. My son and I, Richard C. Keyt, we are Arizona business and estate planning lawyers. And what we do is we provide services to protect our clients. We want to protect them in the event of their death, protect their families. And if they have a business, we also want to protect them from having personal liability if something goes wrong with the business or with their investment real estate. Asset protection is important, but so is taking steps to have an estate plan to protect your loved ones if you were to die.